Now, what would you say if I told you that for the last four titles, we've all been interacting with striking at about 50%? You would say I was crazy. You would say, no way is there 50% of this game that we do not interact with intentionally. And the ones who do interact with it maybe do it in vain. I'm here to show you something that seems pretty obvious on the surface, but we haven't had a way to verify it for a really long time. And that is, you can strike in all four directions. What a mystery, right? Because I mean, when you play online, you only really see stationary strikes and then forward moving strikes, right? Like you never ever see anybody do any lateral or backwards moving strikes. And you never tend to question that because it seems completely plausible that forward moving and backwards moving are the only way to play the game, clearly, because there's absolutely no reason to do anything else by definition, right? Because if you were to think about a lateral moving strike in reality, why would you do that? Why would you move to the left or to the right while throwing a lead or rear hook? I mean, maybe to garner an angle, maybe to change the position of your head to maybe elude an opponent who's evading or who's approaching linearly. You would want to sidestep him, and as you sidestep him, counter him with a hook. Well, just so now you know, the frame meter has not been in the game since this one. This is a new one. So because they've revealed this meter, now we're able to actually quantifiably prove that there's absolutely no purpose to doing a side moving or rear moving strike, mind you, because they do nothing. They have similar frame timings to the standard forward moving strike. So let's take a look. His forward moving lead hook is 19 frames to contact, 20 frame recovery, which is recovery to movement, I think. Yeah, recovery to movement, not recovery to block, not recovery to striking, because you can combo off of that recovery into another punch or anything that's comboable. So if you can break that flow with a combo, you can skip past that second half of 20 frames and use that as a window to throw a different strike. But you cannot start moving until those frames are over. But you can block, because for whatever reason, recovery to blocking and recovery to movement are not tied together, and they're totally different. So it's why people throw a head kick, miss it, and are blocking as they're spinning around. It's hard to tell because they've changed the game to where you can't tell if a person is blocking anymore, and it doesn't affect their movement in any way. They actually move at the same rate of speed, blocking or not blocking, because by some stroke of genius, someone had an idea to make it impossible to tell if your opponent is blocking or not. Now, body blocks you can tell. Head blocks, it's, there's a nuance, like change to the hands. The fighter kind of keeps their hands a little closer to their body. They're not like fully committed to the block, which a non-committal block, it's definitely a realistic thing. Fighters do like non-committally keep their hands near their body, near their head, to just avert damage as it comes in, but they don't actively have Tekken style auto block, which is what we have now. If you hold the block button, your character, even though his hands are dropped, they have a Tekken style auto block, which, cool. Every time someone says this game, we're going towards arcadey, or this too arcadey, it's not a sim, then we get a new feature that is absolutely an arcadey feature, like having a Tekken style auto block. Let me just use those terms as clearly as possible so that the point doesn't get lost. But in that Tekken style auto block, we were talking about the fact that recovery to block is on the frame timer. It's that blue window. Anything that's in that blue window is recovery to block, but it's not recovery to movement. So you throw a head kick, you're holding block, your character can start blocking. Whoa, it's not what I meant to do. That's not what I meant to do either. I'm trying to throw a head kick, I'm trying to miss. It's almost impossible to miss a head kick because you can do it from Narnia. Yeah, from Narnia. Right. So yeah, that's, if you ever wonder why your opponent turns around sometimes and they're like mid block before you can fire off a head kick, is because their recovery to block has a shorter window. Whoops, I was trying to block, I'm dumb. All right, so I gotta miss the head kick, and then I'm still holding the wrong button. Doing two controllers is tricky. It's a little, frame specific on some fighters, like for whatever reason, if the kick doesn't actually spin you around in a circle, it seems like you recover the block slower, which is absolutely ridiculous, but okay. Does Cejudo have the spin around in a circle head kick? If he misses it, yeah. So like, watch this. Cejudo misses a kick. I'm gonna try to jab when Cejudo misses the kick, right? And I'm gonna hold block. Well, I'm gonna try to do both. I'm actually have to switch hands. You know, sometimes test processes are a pain in the foot, but effective nonetheless. All right, get closer. Get closer before you miss that head kick there, bud. See, so like recover the block on the outside head kick, on the inside head kick has seemingly been adjusted to force the block to come through, which is perfect. Should be like that. Should have been like that all the time, but it wasn't always. So that's good. But having this frame meter, it does open us up to be able to criticize what things do or do not do. And one thing that lateral or backwards moving strikes don't do is they don't have evasion frames. I know, right? Shocker. Throw a hook to the body, there's evasion frame. So if he were to throw a straight punch, as I'm already down for the hook to the body, well, he's got high accuracy, so it's kind of like nulling the point, which I'm not sure why it's happening. But if he were, my bad. The evasion might be only for hooks. My bad. Let me go ahead and test this again. Make Cejudo throw a hook. I'm gonna make Sean throw a hook to the body, a rear hook to the body, mind you. I mean, and maybe because he's too short, like it might mitigate the body frames having evasion at all because he's too short, which is a thing for some reason. It shouldn't be, but it is a thing. So like, as you can tell, Cejudo has evasion frames. If he throws that body hook before Sean tries to throw his lead hook, there's a window of time where the rear hook will just go under. I'm struggling to figure out which controller is doing what. There's a frame amount of time where the hook will go under and you'll get the evasion. You probably see it a lot from like high level players. They'll do it straight to the body or jab to the body and something will just go whizzing over them because it has evasion. What moving laterally or backwards doesn't have is evasion. You see those green frames on that meter? That's the evasion window. It doesn't tell you which direction the evasion window is, so you just kind of have to surmise. I mean, obviously, you do not have evasion if you go to throw a ducking punch and an uppercut comes. That's, point proven. You'll always get hit with an uppercut going for a body jab. Even if the jab lands, like that's another thing. Like even if you hit the stab on a forward moving opponent, in most cases, they're still just gonna uppercut you. Which, I have my qualms with. I have my qualms with people being able to just walk through punches. Walk through things just cause they want to. They say, screw it, who cares? I'm trying to land it as he goes to throw the uppercut. And sure, there might be some like damage mitigation happening because of it, but you're still getting hit. And if you're in the late game, that stuff matters, right? So, point proven, there is no lateral evasion frames going side to side, backwards, or left to right, or anything like that. Like there is no real reason to cage cut directions using these strikes. Now, sure, the frames, like I said earlier, are probably more similar to the forward moving strike frames. So it's 25 frames to throw a forward moving rear hook. It's also 25 frames to do it laterally, 25 frames to do it backwards, and it's 21 frames to throw it right in front of your opponent. Even though the 21 frames, to be completely honest, the 21 frames looks slower than the 25 frames for whatever reason. Like, yeah, the 25 frames looks like it makes contact faster. Maybe that's an illusion. But the 21 frames look slower, like the animation is just physically slower, which it shouldn't be because according to the frames, it's making contact at 21. Which I'm trying to pinpoint with my eyes. Yeah, I mean, eyeballing it, it looks like it crosses over the line at the moment that it would make contact. But once again, moving laterally doesn't change anything other than the amount of, I don't even know if it changes how much stamina the strike uses, to be honest. Let's go laterally. Well, I don't know why, but there's like a little skip and a hop if you just tap the joystick. If you tap your left stick as you throw a lateral strike, your character will sometimes like hop, skip, and then skip backwards. But if you just are walking, like you're just using the locomotion, you walk through the strike and keep moving, they'll pause for a split second, but they won't do all that extra movement, which I'm not sure why it's input queuing like that many more things. See what I'm saying? I'm tapping down once, but it's input queuing as if I'm doing down for the punch and then this movement. But it's like this thing, yeah. So I don't know why the input queue is working that way. That's a bug in its own right. Like, as a different bug is that pressing down on the right stick while pressing in any direction while throwing a ladder strike is cueing a signature movement, because it even does it with this and like the short hops. So like if you tap to throw a jab and move this way, your character is actually performing the short hop at the end of the punch, which, I mean, as a tech, pretty cool. Because like if I were to throw that short hop jab and my opponent were to eat the jab and then throw it straight, they're gonna miss the straight, because the short hop that's like happening automatically, which once again, I'm not cueing the short hop, and I don't even know if the short hop is using stamina. Well, it's using some stamina. Yeah, it's using the amount of stamina that it should use, but I'm not triggering that. It's doing it on its own. So it's a bug that is doing it on its own. It's like the input is like registering. It's registering both things. It's registering that you're pressing down to throw a moving strike in the direction that you're pressing, but it's also registering that you're tapping down to get to the signature movement. So it's like input buffering, and it's double queuing, which is not ideal. It's still a glitch. It's not supposed to happen, unless for whatever reason they decided to make that a part of the game, is that you can input buff off of like moving strikes, which I don't know. It seems a bit weird. I feel like that's something they would have tried to brag about in the marketing. If you can press the strike, your character will also input a move that sends them shooting in the other direction. That's just the type of shit that they like to throw in the marketing. But without a shadow of a doubt, there's no evasion frames on lateral moving strikes, right? But there's also no real reason to use the reverse moving strikes, because in most cases, without evasion, so like if you think about Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, right? Jose Aldo comes barreling forward, he fakes a right, and he throws a lead hook. The lead hook comes out and makes contact with Conor, barely. It like kind of grazes him, right? Because Conor's moving away, the hook is moving forward. It just kind of grazes him. What the heck is going on? I only have my hand on one button, and somehow, some way, I'm throwing 2-punch combination with Henry Cejudo. I'm not sure how that's happening. So essentially the collision between Conor and, they were a little bit further away when they started it. So it's kind of hard to emulate because I'm doing both controls. But essentially that's what happened. Like essentially Conor actually cued the punch as Aldo was like approaching. Like, so the punch was coming out as Aldo loaded his hook. So it's more like that. It's more like Aldo was in the process of loading the hook that the straight hit. Why is it throwing 2 punches? I'm literally pressing one button on the second controller. What is wrong with this game? Any hooser, my Cejudo controller is on my desk, and I'm holding my my blue controller. I wish y'all could see my goddamn hands. Like, you see the type of shenanigans that I got going on. All right, so let's just try to cue this up. Boom. So Conor is, well, we're using Sean O'Malley as our Conor stand-in here. Boom, he lands the punch as the punch lands. So it's emulating real life, like in the capacity that did happen. But the only way for that to be in use case in this game is under that very specific situation where you step back as your opponent stepping in. You have nothing really shielding you from the damage that they could potentially, what the heck? Oh God, sent that boy for a ride. Why is it throwing 2 punches? Like, it's like it's queuing in both punches on one controller, even though I'm using 2 controllers at the same time. Like, I don't know. I don't have a way of reproducing it consistently to prove that that's what's happening, but I think there's a chance. But either way, so my Cejudo controller is stepping forward, and that's the only way that punch lands. Like, any other stepping back strike only lands when your opponent steps forward. And it's still, in most cases, you trade punches, and you don't really want to be trading punches if your opponent's like walking in with straight punches. You don't want to try that. Like, this will never work in your benefit. So there's no reason outside of, like, you got the read and you know your opponent's coming forward, he's super hurt, and you can just time him and catch him slipping. Now, if there was a little forward face evasion or whatever direction you're moving evasion to prevent you from just being tracked by the strike that's coming at you, your moving strike would probably land more often. But because, once again, there is no evasion on these forward or backwards moving strikes, you're more likely to trade at best. Like, let me see if can I do a backward moving uppercut as he does an approaching straight. See, we're trading. Like, so if you're hurt and you try to use that backwards moving uppercut to get some distance, you're gonna take the brunt of it just like he's taking. There's not like a whole lot of damage fall off. Let me see. Oh God. Okay, so let's make Cejudo land a forward moving straight. It's hitting for 104% when he does it forward moving without getting countered or intercepted by the hook. It only knocked off 4% of the damage because he got intercepted with a hook. That time he got intercepted early and took off 57%, but you're still being hit. So like if he can chain a second punch to it, like if your opponent is chasing and they chain a second punch before your uppercut, before you chain a second punch, right? Like, well, he missed the second punch, but not the point. Not the point. The point is, if your opponent were to be able to time the second punch and you think the uppercut should have intercepted him or at least deviated him from his like forward aggression, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. So yeah, like the point stands. Like we're still interacting with the game at like a 50% clip. Like there's 50% of strikes that we just don't use because there's no reason to. They're not inherently faster. Like, okay, so your lead hook is 17, 19 going forward. It's actually 21 going backwards. So your lead hook is actually slower going backwards. And you can't just step out of pocket to do it because the range that it creates, I mean, sometimes it'll let you emulate stepping out of pocket with the hook. Maybe the lead hook's the only one that like kind of does. Because like if your opponent's standing in front of you and you go straight lead hook, you're gonna step too far out. But if they're just standing in front of you holding their block and you just tap the block as you step out, you might be able to step out on an angle. Well, no, he did some extra movements. I was trying to make him step out with the hook and then throw a straight punch. So yeah, you might be able to like hit the hand, step out with the hook, throw a straight punch and reposition yourself to change the timing, which a lot of people won't do. Like a lot of what works in the game is stuff that's way too much tech going on for people to do. But that's the point I was trying to make. So like, how do we approach this going forward, right? Obviously at some point somebody's got to say something. Somebody's got to call the dev's hand to be like, hey bro, what do we do to get people using these strikes? Like what's the approach to get people moving at angles? Like what's the approach here? And I argue that the approach should be we get some side evasion on these things. Get some evasion to the side you're moving away from. Make strikes that should come down the center not track you if you're going off to the side. Like you're stepping to the inside of a punch, like you're doing the stepping body hook in towards the punch. You should have some evasion on that far side because you're stepping away from that side. You should be creating an angle by moving and using these strikes, but you're not actually creating angles because there's no evasion to emulate the creation of angles. Like you see the fighter like perpetually tracks you if you're moving left or right, right? Like he perpetually tracks you. But if you throw a body hook if you lean your head forward and throw a body hook, technically speaking, because Sean's so tall, it's like not working. But it's really just because he's so tall versus the Henry Cejudo that the body hook has it has evasion, but it doesn't matter. But Sean's so tall that he's just gonna get hit when he goes down for the body hook anyway, because by the time he gets down there, Henry Cejudo's accuracy stat tells him that he is in that position, even if you land the punch in the window that you should be evasive. See, look, it kind of worked there. Like it looked goofy. He's so hurt that it's like gonna make it a problem. It looked goofy, but it kind of worked. Because against a taller fighter, the evasion is like, he's gonna be able to hit it in the early parts. But in order for it to work against this matchup, it almost has to be at the tail end of the green frames for Cejudo to be forced to miss. But even then, his accuracy stat is finding him on the way up. Maybe I should have done this test with a fighter with worse accuracy, but not the point. Point is, all of these strikes should have some evasion in the direction that they're traveling, or to the opposite side of the direction they're traveling, to create the illusion of creating angles, which you can't do in the game. It might look like you're creating angles, but in reality, you're not. If your fighter had low head health and you go to step on an angle and your opponent throws a strike that doesn't look like it should track you, why is he walking backwards? Come here, bud. Like he throws a lead hook or something while you're really hurt on that side and you try to create an angle, you're taking a nap, bud. I mean, and the evasion to hooks while you're moving in a lateral direction like that should be minimal, just to mitigate the amount of damage you take. But the evasion, the straight evasion, like down the middle, you should almost sidestep the punch entirely. You should not be doing a check hook and being on the back end of, let me see if I can get his head health low to kind of create the scenario I'm trying to create here. Get your ass up. Get your ass up. I'm gonna have to get him close to it and then try to change directions. I'm trying to do both, but I'm trying to force a scenario where Cejudo lands the bigger shot because, Sean O'Malley's hurt and trying to circle his way out. And Cejudo's like, nah, cut that out. Well, see, that time I wasn't sidestepping. Get your butt up. Uh, 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 uh. Now, if this was like Alex or somebody with like a really, like somebody with a hard straight punch, like if this was the other way around, I don't know. So Cejudo might have took a nap already. Okay, well, it keeps landing. Every knockdown that it happens on is like when the hook is like in its infancy, like the hook hasn't come out yet. So it's like not a good representation of what I'm trying to, the scenario I'm trying to muster up. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to have Sean land the hook to the side as Cejudo pegs him with the straight punch. Pause. Got him there, kind of. I still feel like it hit him in the infancy of the punch. I still feel like because the punch was, God dang it, knocked him out. Anyway, at the point, 21 minutes into this video, and all I'm showing you so far is that moving to the outside does not change the fact that your fighter is going to get slacked if you try to create an angle using side or back moving strikes. These things have got to get adjusted, man. Like there's got to be something done. This is UFC 6. UFC 3 came out way back when, and these like angle strikes animations have been excuse me, have been a part of this game this entire time, and they've had no actual purpose, no real use case. I mean, that one has evasion only because it's a rear hook to the body. So like if a strike has evasion, otherwise it might have evasion moving laterally. That's silly. But good to know. So I stand corrected. One strike, two strikes that have evasion also have evasion when you're moving left, right, front, or back. So it can be done. If you need proof that it can be done, the proof is in the pudding. It's already in the game. They just need to apply that globally across every strike that moves at an angle. Globally, they need side evasion to the side they're traveling from for every lateral strike that would otherwise have evasion. I mean, leg kicks don't have evasion at all. But can I see a world where a sidestepping leg kick has side evasion, so straight punches miss? Absolutely. Same thing going here. I mean, straight punch miss there, that would be perfect. I mean, I would argue that body kicks don't really need straight punch evasion, but sometimes fighters do lean their head out of the way for body kicks. It kind of naturally happens when the fighter's shorter. It kind of naturally occurs. But like Sean versus him, kick, man. Come on, Cejudo. I need you to do better, bro. I need you to do better. I need you to press. I need you to do the input that I'm pressing. The A button is not all of a sudden B button, brother. Boom. From the range, you can land the body kick. You can also be hit in the face with a straight if your opponent is long enough. If your opponent is shorter, you know, they miss just because the character model says they miss. You know, it's a littler guy. He would miss otherwise. So the emulation of reach is created, or the illusion of reach is created by the fact that the character is actually physically smaller. Even though, you know, from the range that Sean can land jabs, typically shorter fighters can land them too. Let me see. So you can land it straight from here, so can I. And land his jab from here only because Sean O'Malley's head movement like forces him into a jab position. It's actually kind of crazy because Sean's idol will get him jabbed by guys who he can't even jab from where he's getting jabbed from, because his idol puts his head out in front. So like his head being here, he might get jabbed. So let's see, his head get jabbed there, but okay, well, he can land a jab right in that exact spot. It's like super, man, they really got to define this movement. Like somebody's got to like call a spade, man. Somebody got to like really get on their ass, and like they have to get these movements to where these movements aren't just like willy-nilly. Like you can't just step from here. You can't be in elbow range and then step back with a micro hop. You can't even be in elbow range and step back with the first plausible character step and be in jab range. Like you're in hook range, boom, you land a body hook. The character kind of falls to step range, but Sean, like his idol, steps him out of punching range. So it's like boom, jab, jab. Now you can't land it straight because his idol backed him too far up. Like I know it looks cool because his idol looks like, you know, realistic and whatnot, but his idol backs him out of a playable range. Sure, most people are probably just going to step forward with a stepping punch, or they'll throw another jab and then a forward straight punch. and now cover the distance and make the game look good. But making the game look good is not on you. It's not the burden of trust is not on the player. It's on the game's designers to make sure that everything that's happening is fully understandable and dissectable by the person whose eyes are playing the game. You should not be making these imperceivable like movements. Like that should not be a thing. Like you land a jab, your character steps so far out of range that he's outside of head kick range. Sure, he just warps into position, like he slides into kicking range because the game says he should, but that's an inconceivable nuance that you shouldn't have to pay attention to in a high speed video game. Like it's a nuance that should be defined clearly by movements and by actions. Like there's so many things that your character is shimmying around and just kind of creating their own distance. Like it takes 3 jab rear hooks of the body to go from halfway across the cage to in punching range. Like, hey, I'm not moving, I'm just pressing punches. Like why are my stationary punches advancing? Like those should be stationary. My character should not be taking all these little micro steps. And now you're in a position like you could essentially take a micro step in this game, not realize you did, and somebody throw a head kick and you're like, oh, I'm outside of head kick range, and then the micro step puts you in range and you get hit with a head kick and you get blasted and you're like, bro, that's so dumb. Why'd I get hit with a head kick? Yeah, because your character like micro hopped into range. Like it's silliness for silliness sake, to be completely honest. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of that stuff just somebody's gotta like really get behind, somebody gotta put some muscle to it and be like, look, man, we want to take this game as serious as possible, but in order to take it serious, the development has to take it serious, and they have to value the things that are important, like honesty, trust, you know, like basic like things, like, you know, basic stuff like that, like honesty, trust. Like you shouldn't have things just like not privy, like the player just doesn't see it, like it's just happening off screen, like these little micro movements that are just baked into the animations because that's probably how they were mocapped, and then not cleaned up to be like on the grid that they're moving on. Like every video game they're not real. Like, I don't know if you know this, but these characters, they're not real people. They're real people in real life, but in the game they are not real. They are rigs and art assets that are moving and pretending to be the people that they're creating, and in doing so they have to do that authentically and honestly for the game to have any sort of real expression of skill and art. And there are things in this game that I wouldn't call art, like what I'm doing now, like throwing a rear straight into an uppercut, and my character like slightly taking a little hop step, which looks good. That looks real. You know, the little hop step looks real. I'm also not throwing a hopping punch though. This is my hopping uppercut. Like this is my hopping uppercut. If I was throwing the forward moving uppercut, I would expect the little hop to get me from position to position, but this is it. And this is where it comes from. But also it only lands there, right? Hopping rear uppercut. Let me see, does the rear uppercut move you forward in space? No, it doesn't. Does the lead hook to rear uppercut move you in space? It does not. Lead hook to the body, rear uppercut. Lead hook to the body, rear uppercut moves you in space. Like, because the lead hook carries the character a little bit forward. So therefore, if you throw a lead hook before a rear uppercut, the punch that otherwise I'm struggling to dance my hand around this like magical crazy controller that has all these different functions like locked away at all these different, right? You have to like be a spider monkey to like play this game sometimes. But like, you see that, like if I were to throw that jab and that same rear uppercut, it doesn't advance me in space, but out of certain punches it does. Like why? At some point we gotta start asking the questions. Why? And if the answer is I'll say that 1,000 times. If the answer to why something is happening is we in deep shit. You know what I'm saying? We in deep shit. And deep shit is what we're in. Like, this game has all the bones and structure to be good, but it just needs some love, some tender love and care. And not in some sort of wacky ass mode to illustrate people's like bass and all that other crap. Sure, it's a cool mode to add, but geez, man, if the core function of the game is like dog water, like why are you wasting development time on like, come on, bruh, do better. Hit him with that Joey Swole, do better. I'm out. And all this stuff is just talking points, man. Like, I say I'm out, but I gotta say it. Like, you gotta spread this, like that type of stuff. Like, you gotta call it at the base. Like, if you want the game to be great, you gotta call it out for where it's not. Like, the things that are lacking. The effort here on this channel has always been to improve the quality of the game. It's an uninteractable like game. Like, for me, like, it's uninteractable. Like, to play it like online, it's like I have to wade through some like inner turmoil to get there, because there's so much of these little things that I just want to see done with love and care and be good. And then if it's good, then everything is good. Like, the better the game is, technically, the better it is performance wise. The better it plays, the better it feels, the more understandable it is, the more practical it is to get better. Like, pipeline is just a never-ending cycle, and until it's adjusted, it's just a problem era. You know, it's just a problem area that needs to be, I said era the first time, but I meant area. It all kind of makes sense. It is a problem, time and place. So area, because it's not being fixed. You see what I'm talking about? Double entendre, triple, double, triple entendre. But get that out to the people that care. Just fix the shit, man. Seriously, fix the shit.